Let me ask you something simple. You're alone. It's 2 a.m. The street around you has gone completely, unnaturally quiet. Not the quiet of late night, but the quiet of something listening. Your phone is dead. The cold has gotten inside your coat, inside your chest. A bus. Your last bus home. You'd get on. Of course you would. You'd tell yourself that relief you feel, that rush of finally, is perfectly normal. You'd climb those steps, drop into a seat, and let the warmth of it swallow your fear whole. But what if the driver already knew you weren't going home? What if the passengers sitting around you, the ones who haven't looked up, the ones who haven't moved, the ones whose breath isn't fogging in the cold, what if they've been waiting for you specifically? What if this bus has been running the same route since before you were born? This is not fiction. This is not folklore. This is a documented disappearance, a missing vehicle, 3 dead bodies, and a warning delivered at a slap's notice by a woman who understood something the rest of us refuse to believe. That some things wear the shape of a bus, and some passengers were never alive to begin with. Welcome to Hollow Hours. Tonight we ride the midnight Route 909, and we don't come back. November 14th, 1995. Lakewood City, Oregon. Not a remarkable place. Dense forest on 3 sides, the kind that absorbs sound the way black fabric absorbs light. Winding mountain roads with no guardrails in spots. The sort of town where, if something happens at 2 a.m., no one is awake to see it. Route 909 connected downtown Lakewood to Cedar Ridge. 12 miles, 40 minutes, the last bus of the night. Departure, 1:45 a.m. The driver was Frank Tolliver, 25 years behind the wheel. He knew this route the way you know your own hallway in the dark. He was careful. He was steady. He was the kind of man who had seen everything. He hadn't seen this. His conductor was Darlene Moss, veteran of the transit system. Known for not taking nonsense from anyone, passengers, supervisors, anyone. She'd be the first to tell you she wasn't afraid of the dark. She was that night. The bus left with just those 4 people, Frank, Darlene, and a young couple heading home after a late dinner. Normal, unremarkable. Then came Willow Creek Junction. 3 figures, standing at the stop. The fog was too thick to make them out clearly at first, but as the bus drew closer you could see. The old man in the middle, flanked by 2 younger ones who gripped him by the arms. His head lolled, his feet dragged. Their clothes were wrong, not just old, centuries old, tattered linen, soiled and stiff, the kind of clothing you'd see under museum glass. They stepped onto the bus without a word, without looking at anyone, without producing a fare. Darlene hesitated for exactly 1 second, then she let them through. She would spend the rest of her life wishing she hadn't, except she didn't have much life left. In the back of the bus, 1 passenger was already watching them, an old woman. Her name was Esther Vance, and she already knew something was wrong. Part 2, the old woman. Esther Vance was 71, a retired nurse. 3 decades in emergency medicine, she had seen trauma, she had seen death up close, she had held the hands of people in their final moments. She was not a woman who panicked, but she was panicking now. She couldn't explain it. Not yet. It was the feeling of them. The absence of small sounds. No shifting, no breathing, no fabric moving when they moved. She could feel it from 6 rows away, the way you feel a power outage before the lights actually go out. Something is off. Kevin, 22, an art student heading home after a late study session, noticed Esther's face first. He glanced toward the back of the bus, saw the 3 men, looked back at Esther. He would later say that he felt it too, in that moment. Like the temperature on that side of the bus was wrong, like the shadows back there were a shade too dark. But he talked himself out of it. He was 22. The bus jolts with a pothole. Frank called back from the driver's seat. The fog had thickened to the point where visibility was nearly 0. He was suggesting the alternate route, longer but safer. The young couple said no. They needed to get off at Pine Street just ahead. Take the regular road. Frank nodded, pushed on. When those doors closed behind the couple, Esther said later, the sound of the bus changed. The engine didn't get louder. The road didn't get rougher. But the silence did. It deepened in a way that had nothing to do with sound. Esther forces herself to look at the three men closely. She watched them for 3 full minutes. Not one of them breathed. Their chests did not rise. Their shoulders did not move. The old man's hanging hair didn't sway, even when the bus turned. And then the cracked window above her seat let in a single gust of cold air. The old man's hair lifts slightly in slow motion as a gust of air blows in. No face, not disfigured, not masked, no face. The skin where his features should have been was smooth and featureless, the way skin looks on a wrist or a shoulder, as if a face had simply never been considered necessary. Esther checks the extremities as her medical training takes over. Esther's medical training took over before her fear did. Her eyes dropped automatically to verify, the way a nurse checks extremities, hands, feet. Their trousers ended, their legs ended, and below the hem, where feet should have been, nothing. Empty air. The floor of the bus was visible right through them. One of them turned toward her. No eyes, and yet she felt it. Felt the attention of it land on her like a physical weight. Like being looked at by something that doesn't need eyes to see you. She had 9 seconds to make a decision. In 71 years of life, Esther Vance had never screamed on public transit. She screamed now.
You, that boy, he took my wallet. I saw him when the bus braked.
You! She pointed directly at Kevin, who recoiled like he'd been struck. You reached into my bag. I felt it when we hit that last bump. That boy is a thief.
What? I never touched anything. I don't even know you.
Kevin's first reaction wasn't anger. It was confusion, so complete it made him speechless. He'd been sitting perfectly still, a textbook in his lap. He hadn't moved. But Esther didn't give him a window. She got louder. Frank hit the brakes. Darlene came back. The commotion filled the bus, loud, chaotic, human, and Esther used every second of it.
There is a police station 1 mile up the road. Open the doors. I want this boy arrested.
Kevin saw them clearly for the first time. He felt, and he has said this in every interview since, he felt his body understand before his brain did. A cold that had nothing to do with temperature. A wrongness so complete it bypassed thought entirely and went straight to instinct. Run. Darlene watched them from the window. Esther would later say that Darlene's face, in those last seconds, looked confused. Just confused. Not afraid. She didn't know what was behind her.
What the hell is wrong with you? I didn't take anything. You could have had me arrested.
Kevin wrenched his arm away. He was furious, humiliated, wrongly accused, standing in freezing fog in the middle of nowhere at 2 a.m. Esther looked at him. She was already breathing again. The first full breath, he noticed, she'd taken since she stood up. She said very quietly,
I know, I'm sorry, but you need to listen to me right now. I just saved your life.
Part 4. The Revelation. Kevin's anger lasted about 30 seconds. Because Esther wasn't hysterical, she wasn't rambling. She was a 71-year-old woman who had spent her career in emergency rooms, and she was describing what she'd seen with the clinical precision of someone dictating a medical report. No faces, no feet, no breath, no reflection in the windows. She'd checked, not once, in the entire time they were on that bus. They weren't passengers, she told him. They were something that learns to look like passengers, and they were waiting for the bus to get far enough out before they stopped pretending. Frank and Darlene are still on that bus. They walked to the nearest station, a mile in the cold and the fog. Kevin talked the whole way, bargaining with himself. There's an explanation. She's confused. It was a trick of the light. There are no such things as... The officer at the desk was polite, then amused, then dismissive. Ma'am, it's 2 in the morning. You've had a scare. Go home. No report was filed. At 6 a.m., when the morning shift clocked in, Frank Tolliver had not returned the bus to the depot. Radio contact? Nothing. GPS transponder on the vehicle, offline since 2:17 a.m. The last coordinate it had ever transmitted was Old Mill Road, on the regular route, exactly as expected. The Old Mill Tunnel is 300 feet long, straight through. No branches, no side passages, no exits. You enter one side and you exit the other. Simple. The bus never came out. Not on the tunnel exit camera. Not on any camera after that. Not on any road in any direction for the 60 miles surrounding that tunnel. A 40,000-pound vehicle carrying 3 people simply ceased to exist on a public road, on a clear traffic grid, with cameras at every major intersection, 300 feet of tunnel, and it swallowed all of them whole. Part 5. The Discovery.
2 days later, a fisherman working the Blackwood River, 60 miles east of Lakewood City, snagged his line on something large and submerged. He thought it was a fallen tree. He called it in when he saw the metal, when he saw the glass, when he saw faintly, through 20 feet of black water, the number on the side, 909. The dive team described the bus as sitting perfectly upright on the riverbed. No impact damage consistent with rolling off a road, no broken windows, no deformation from the crash that never happened. It had not driven into that river. It had been placed there, set down. The front door was unlocked. They found 3 bodies, Frank Tolliver in the driver's seat, Darlene Moss in the aisle, and in one of the rear seats, the old man in the antique clothing. Here is what the forensic report said. Time of death, approximately 48 hours prior, consistent with the night of November 14th, 2 days in cold water. Here is what the forensic report also said. State of decomposition, severe, tissue slippage, liquefaction of the eyes, breakdown consistent with months of decay, not days. The examiner noted, and this is a direct quote from the official record, the condition of the remains is biologically inconsistent with the established post-mortem interval. 2 days dead, months decomposed, in cold water which slows decay. There is no scientific framework in which this is possible. The fuel tank held no diesel. It held 3.4 gallons of human blood, typed and matched, post-investigation, to all 3 victims. The 2 younger men, the ones who had flanked the old man, gripped his arms, boarded with him, were never found. No remains, no trace, no evidence they had ever been on the bus at all. Just those 2 seats, clean and dry, 20 feet underwater, waiting. There's something more. Witnesses came forward later, claiming they saw the bus driving through town on that night. No headlights, just a black shape against the dark. They heard music, an old tune, scratchy like on a gramophone. I swear, it was like an old-time dance was happening inside. Music from decades past, a waltz maybe. It was the eeriest thing I ever heard. The bus continued to show up in various locations throughout the state for weeks after. Always at night, always silent but for that haunting melody reported by the few who saw it. Its route was erratic, forming no pattern anyone could decipher, no logic, no reason. Witnesses' accounts always differed slightly, details shifting like the fog that often accompanied the sightings. But one thing remained constant. Each person who saw it dreamed of those on board. They became restless, caught in a dream loop of that black water and quiet music.
Esther Vance gave one interview in 2005. 1. She was asked if she thought about what might have happened if she had stayed on the bus. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said,
Every day. I think about it every single day. Not with fear anymore, just with understanding. Those things weren't hunting randomly. They chose that bus because it was the last one, because there'd be no one to notice when it didn't arrive. They chose it because nobody looks for people who disappear at 2 a.m.
She paused.
I don't think they were taking those people somewhere. I think they were something those people would become, given enough time.
The interviewer asked what she meant. She looked at the camera.
I think Frank and Darlene are still riding, somewhere, on something that only runs at night. And I think they're waiting at a stop right now for someone tired and cold and grateful to see headlights in the fog.
She died in 2018, in her sleep, with the light on. Kevin became a professor of psychology. He studies how the human mind processes experiences that have no acceptable category, events the brain refuses to file correctly, that resurface in dreams, in moments of silence, in the half-second before sleep. He doesn't ride buses. He has never, in 30 years, explained away what he saw in those rear seats that night. Not the stillness of them, not the absence of breath, not the thing that turned its blank face toward an old woman and somehow, without eyes, looked. He has one thing he says about that night consistently whenever anyone asks.
I didn't believe her at first, but when those doors opened and the cold air hit us, I felt it leave. Whatever was on that bus, it felt it when we got off, and it settled back, because it still had to.
There are reports every November along the old Route 909 corridor, mostly from people driving late, people who don't take the bus, people with no reason to believe. A bus, moving through the fog, no headlights on, windows dark, moving a little too slowly for the road, a little too steadily for the curves. They say, if you see it, don't watch it. Don't slow down. Don't flash your lights. Don't honk. Don't make yourself known to it. Because the faceless men are still passengers. The bus is still running. And the thing is, it was never really about Route 909. It was always about finding someone who needed a ride home. The bus appears in the fog, headlights approaching but never stopping. At a small coffee shop just off Route 909, there sits an old man. Everyone knows him, but no one knows his name. He speaks in whispers, low and soft, to no one in particular. They are tales of the bus that never stops.
Saw it last night. Same as every year. It drifts by, silent. My brother was on that bus, long ago.
Why do you keep watching for it then?
I think if I see him one more time, maybe I'll finally know why he left. Or maybe he'll take me with him.
The old man sips his coffee. The cup is chipped and worn, like his stories. A young woman, alone at the bus stop, checks her watch. The night is quiet except for the occasional rustle of leaves. She shivers, pulls her jacket tighter, and checks the schedule taped to the pole. The last bus of the night is late, as always.
I just need to get home tonight.
The fog rolls in. Headlights emerge, soft and distant. The bus approaches with a hum, slowing to a stop just in front of her.
Thank you for watching Hollow Hours. If this kept you up, hit subscribe. We do this every week. This video is a work of dramatic storytelling, drawing on paranormal legends, internet lore, and creative fiction. All visuals are AI-generated and used solely as cinematic representations. This content is intended for mature audiences seeking entertainment and suspense. No disrespect is intended toward any individual, community, or belief system. Check what's beside you before you sleep tonight.